her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. These are Night Terrors. I hope you're ready for about an hour full of paranormal goodness served fresh right from the oven straight to you. Because we don't believe in that day-old stuff. I'm just kidding. Like it's a baked good. I don't know. It was funny in my head, folks. Welcome to the show. Hope you guys are having a great day. It's Thursday, so you're almost at your Friday. You're almost there. And usually Fridays are a good day because it's the last day you got to do the work thing. Unless you got one of those jobs where you don't have normal weekends, then I'm just sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm glad you're here all the same. Throughout the course of our journey tonight, if you want to call in and be a part of the show, please feel free. If you've got something paranormal-like that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can call in and be a part of the show by dialing 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500, or look up above my head, right up here where I'm pointing. That's the number. So if you forget later and you're like, oh, what was that number? Yeah, there it is. It's right above my head under the words Paranormal Portal. So there's opportunities for you to share. Those are the numbers for fun. And I will be as proactive as I can to get to the phone lines and answer them. So hopefully, if you got something to share, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, I see already new names. There's a Loretta Wisote or Wizote. Not sure how you pronounce the last name, Loretta, but thank you for coming in. And right off the bat, the fourth color was right in here, and that's a new name to me, so welcome. And, of course, welcome to all our familiar names as well. It's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here and being part of the journey. It's really cool. Unless those are just renames and I already knew you by something else, which is always possible. But anyway, it's always a pleasure to meet new people. I hope if you're not already subscribed, you get subscribed and become part of the family. That'd be really great. We stream live on YouTube here Wednesday through Sunday nights. And Wednesday and Friday and Saturday are 2-hour shows. And for two of those, usually Don joins me, which is usually Wednesday and Saturday. But it's a lot of fun, and we, of course, like to have a good time with the paranormal. So if you like the paranormal and you like, having a good laugh, hopefully you're getting good laughs and feeling entertained by being here, then by all means, please get subscribed and hit the notification bells, because subscriptions don't really necessarily entitle you to be notified of anything, but allegedly the bell is supposed to be the clincher. If you ring the bell, you're supposed to get notifications whenever we go live, or if I post something informationally on YouTube, then you should get those notifications. So that's kind of the laundry right up front. We're going to do UFO encounters tonight as our Night Terrors rotating topics are going. I got some good stuff pulled up, hopefully some good information as well, because, and I'm learning stuff as I go too. Don't ever, I've been looking into this for pretty much my whole life, the paranormal, and I'm here to tell you, I still learn something every time I do a show. We'll run across some information and be like, God, I never knew that. And it's surprising how much I don't know, because when I started doing the show, I thought, I got this stuff nailed. I know what I'm doing. Oh, thank you, Kirsten. That's really sweet. Thank you so much. That really helps out a ton. What is that? It's a ghost. She gave me a ghost. Thank you. How fitting. But, I never quit learning. And I hope you guys are learning something as we go through these shows, too. I mean, obviously, we like to have fun and take it light, but hopefully the information you're getting here you feel is reliable and good and decent, because I'm here to tell you there's a lot of shows out there doing the paranormal. Most of them are doing great. But there's also a lot of bad information out there, and there's some that aren't doing it as well. So I hope that throughout the course of doing the show, you feel like you're getting a better understanding of all this weirdness and maybe some cool ideas. Not that I know everything. I'll be the first to tell you I don't. In fact, maybe none of us know anything, but I at least got some ideas on what the hell's going on. So maybe that's worth something. But at any rate, I'm trying to think, is there anything else on the front end? I don't think so. I think that's everything I wanted to mention first and foremost. So all I can tell you is I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. And unmute myself. There we go. All right, folks. I think that's everything up front. We should be officially ready to get underway here on the Paranormal Portal. Remember, at the end of the show, I got a night terrors, or night terrors. I got a trail cam terror coming up for you. Another strange trail cam picture that was taken. I can't I can't vouch for the authenticity of any of them. I just think they're kind of fun and interesting. And if they are capturing actual phenomena, they're pretty amazing. But maybe they're not. Maybe 99.999% of them are all hoaxy and stupid. But it's kind of fun to look at them, because if things can be caught on camera, then with all the trail cams out there, they should be catching something. And I believe some of these are definitely legitimate, and some of them are definitely open to interpretation at the very least. But either way, we're going to talk about them and have a good time with it. So that'll be coming up at the tail end of the show, so don't leave early, because you'll miss the trail cam terrors. And let's see. What was I going to say? There's one other thing I was going to mention, but I forgot. But remember, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in and be a part of the discussion tonight, you are more than welcome to. I'd love to hear from you. So that's always an option. Oh, by the way, one more thing that I know I was forgetting something. Tomorrow, now I've got, for our last giveaways around the holidays that are past, I've got the t-shirts now. Tomorrow I'll be sending them all off. So, they're all packaged up, ready to go, and so they'll be going out the door tomorrow. So if you live in the States, you should get them in a reasonable amount of time. If you, Aussie, I know if you're out there, I'm not sure when it'll get to Australia, but it'll be on the way. I will tell you that. The package will be on the way. So, so just wanted to point that out, because when we do giveaways on the show, there is a longer turnaround on the prizes, because we have to find out what you want, get your address and all that. Then we got to order them. Then we got to get them in. Then I've got to repackage them to go out to you guys. So that's kind of what's going on here. It takes a while. So it is something that congratulations again to all the winners. We'll be doing more giveaways in the near future, so don't worry. Maybe Valentine's. Huh. Tell me what you think. Do you think we should do a t-shirt or giveaway or two on Valentine's? Maybe we will. But just thought of that now. You can see all the planning that goes into these portals there. It's tough work. I just get an idea. I'm like, maybe we should do that. So maybe on Valentine's Eve we'll do a giveaway or two as well, just to celebrate love. Because when it comes to you guys, I love you. All right. So, and there's no better way to show love than to give you a prize. So we're going to talk about UFO encounters tonight, folks. And as such, I thought it'd be kind of neat to cover some things right up front, because there's a lot of information that's going around about UFOs, especially recently. Now, as everybody knows, of course, the military disclosures kind of happened in the form of the Navy's videos that were released by the Pentagon. There's some pretty compelling videos that were released that definitely show craft that most most believe are actually extraterrestrial. There's some that believe that no, they're still ours. They're just, trying to propagate their their propaganda thing. What do they call it? I'm trying to remember. Is it Blue Beam? Blue Beam. That could be the first start of the Blue Beam project. And if you're not familiar with Blue Beam, if I'm reciting this correctly, I think, and I'm not a big conspiracy person, I'm just telling you what the scuttlebutt is about these things. Some people are saying the Blue Beam is a project by the governments to fake extraterrestrial war. And to whatever ends, I don't know. And, if you believe in that, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. I don't know what to believe about stuff like that. I'll be the first to say, I don't know. Between the information and misinformation, who the hell knows what's going on out there anyway? But, that's a claim that's out there. So are these Navy videos that were released kind of the first leg of that? Or are they genuinely encounters that, military pilots have come up with? In, what was it, 2014, where those Tic Tac videos happened in 2009 and 2014, I think, were the two dates that they captured those videos, and they were released to the Star Search Academy. I hate that name. That's the dumbest name ever. To the Stars Academy. But anyway, take it for what it will. Now, I've of course we've all heard these terms that are often thrown about in UFO discussions, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to kind of go over what do these terms mean, because if any of you have seen movies and you've watched UFO movies, you hear such and such encounters of the what kind, the one kind, the two kind, the three, whatever, the first kind, the second kind, the third kind. And I found the classification system today, and I thought we'd go over that first, because what do those mean? I mean, for most of us, they're like, I don't know. I guess third kind means you meet them. First kind, maybe this visual. I don't know. So I found this classification. Now, what I did learn is that it comes from the J. Allen Hynek Institute, who was part of the government's who spearheaded the government's quest to look into these things, came up with the classification system, and that's where we get the close encounters of the first kind, second kind, third kind, etc. And there's a few more of them that I'd never heard of, so we're going to look into that right now. This is coming from a website that is called alienseverythingyouwanttoknow.com. There's like spaces between all those words, but it's aliens-everything-youwanttoknow.com. So between every word's a dash. I'm not going to say dash that many times because I just don't think I could do it. So we're going to go over that. And it's an article that they have on their site that is called Aliens Everything You Want to Know, Best Cases of Alien Encounters. The thing that I wanted to focus on was these classification systems. And this is let me blow this up. Obviously, it's an older site. I don't know how old, but generally when you see sites like this, when they start out like this, that's because they were made back like around 2010 or earlier with the lower resolution monitors. And so as we jack up the resolutions, they look like this. And so we got to blow them up so they look more like an actual website. So here's the Hynek classification system, again, from alienseverythingyouwanttoknow.com. This is a system designed by Dr. J. Allen Hynek to classify sightings of UFOs. He developed it in the 1950s while he was doing research on the UFOs for the U.S. military. And here it is. The first one is nocturnal light. Any anomalous light seen in the night sky whose description rules out the possibility of aircraft lights, stars, meteors, and the like. Another one is daylight disk UFOs. Seen in the distant daytime sky, the UFOs classified in this category can be other shapes as well, like cigars, eggs, and ovals. So I wonder why they put a shape to it at all. It should have said daylight UFOs and been done with it. Radar visuals is where the UFO are tracked on radar and can be seen at the place illustrated at the same time. A good example would be the disc-shaped object going 9,000 miles per hour and showing up on radar in 1950 when the world speed record was only 650 miles per hour. Isn't that crazy? 9,000 miles per hour versus the current record was 650 miles per hour. Yikes. Then we get into close encounters of the first kind. A UFO in close proximity within approximately 500 feet of the witness. Close encounters of the second kind is a UFO that leaves markings on the ground, causes burns or paralysis to humans, frightens animals, or interferes with car engines or TV and radio reception. Then there's close encounters of the third kind. A UFO which has visible occupants. 2 other classifications were later added to Hynek's original list, and they are close encounters of the fourth kind. These include alien abduction cases, and close encounters of the fifth kind is where communication occurs between a human and an alien being. So there you go. Those are the J. Allen Hynek +2 classification system for observing and potentially reporting UFO encounters. So kind of interesting. Now there's some other things, the best alien encounter cases. We might revisit these before the end of the show. We'll see. I didn't have a chance to look through much on this site. I just saw this classification system and went, oh, that's cool, But I wanted to cover some more stuff as well. So let me figure out what we're doing here next. Let's see, there's this one. Okay. That one's so terribly. There's the one that's so badly named. They named an article with a big cuss word on it, so I'm going to try to adapt my presentation so as not to showcase that. The next one is an article coming from proofofalien.com. And this is top 10 real-life alien encounter stories. For some of these are very, very well known. We don't really need to revisit them too much because these are just paraphrased in brief, talking about what these people experienced, allegedly experienced anyway. And but the ones that I will showcase right up front, or at least talk about most, are the ones that I don't think are as well known. And the first one is the disappearance of Sonia. Let's see, what does it say? I guess we could start out with this first paragraph. An encounter with an aliens from other planets is something that doesn't happen too frequently with Earthlings. However, out of whatever count count of such alien encounters are reported, some of the encounters are really hair-raising and would bring anyone to the edge of their seats. Here are such top 10 real-life alien encounters collected from first-hand accounts of the abductees themselves. So the first one is disappearing of Sonia. And it's just, I gotta keep blowing these up. Now, in this case, the pictures are bigger, but the font is so dinky. All right. So this is the disappearance of Sonia, or the disappearing of Sonia. A British woman called Sonia had the feeling that she was abducted, as she also feared that the aliens would return to take her back with them. Her husband had installed CCTV cameras in the room, and one night the camera captured her vanishing on her bed, just to return back after 13 minutes, the exact way that she had disappeared. So that's interesting. So that one, as it was being recorded, she's there and poof, suddenly she's not. Now, other encounters and abduction cases, there seems to be like almost this escort where the people are rendered, like, say, very similar to like sleep paralysis or something, or in kind of a stupor, like having an altered state, like you can't really focus, or you feel like you're almost outside of yourself. But generally they talk about seeing, these gray aliens come in, and basically next thing they know, they're floating out the window or something like that. And sometimes the real weirdness is that sometimes abductions like this, when I say through a window, I mean like literally people have reported going through solid objects, such as a window. And one such account, the person said it was kind of like sliding through Jello or something like that when they went through the window. So, you think of like an open window and they glide right out, but that's not necessarily the case. And so it kind of makes you wonder, does that make it more of a transdimensional thing? And maybe it does, or maybe it's an altered state of the vibration of the atoms or whatever. It's hard to know how that works, but this is a case. Now, I'm not familiar with this case myself, so this is one we're definitely going to want to revisit in future episodes of the alien encounters, because this is kind of an overview, the 10,000-foot view or whatever they call it. The next one is the Stanford abduction story. And this is three lovely ladies who look like they're involved in this one. It says Mona Stafford, Elaine Thomas, and Louise Smith, three friends, got abducted by an alien spaceship on the 6th of January, 1976, while they were returning from Lancaster to their hometown of Liberty, Kentucky. The alien spaceship was a massive metallic disc-shaped object with a ring of red lights around the midsection and a dome at the top. The ladies were later subjected to lie detector tests, which they passed with flying colors. And I think that definitely lends credibility to their claim. I don't know, especially back in this day and age when, I assume this is the three women right here, but it might just be a dramatization or depiction of them. But, back then you just didn't tell people you got sucked up into flying saucers, because you would be so ostracized. So I think even by the point of a person coming forward, you got to give it a little bit of credibility just like that. Now, there are those type of people that don't care what anybody thinks, and they just want a little attention, and they'll do whatever it takes. But if these are normal, well-balanced people, and they're coming forward back in that day and age and saying, we were abducted, then you got to give them credit for being brave enough to come forward, because other than that, it's like social suicide back in the day. You'd be the weird person. In an interview we did with Kevin Lang, who's the gentleman that had befriended the Bigfoot Glag, or as reported to, he claimed, or he told the story of the town drunk. And this was like his first, he knew about this person claiming to see Bigfoot, and it was before Kevin had ever had an encounter of his own. Now, prior to him claiming about his meeting with Glag, he did see a Bigfoot come up over the hill when he was hunting. But everybody knew this man that had come out saying he was camping, and this tree fell upon his tent. He got out and saw the big Bigfoot. We came back into town and told everybody, and everybody treated him like an idiot. And the guy became the town drunk. He wasn't a drinker like to that extent prior to that, but he was so ostracized for making that claim. And so, it was just tough to come forward back in those days, the earlier, maybe 60s, 70s, coming forward with stories like this, because you were really committing a social suicide of sorts. This one is Kirsten Luminov's, I don't even know, Lyumzinov's alien encounter story. This one I know we've mentioned before, but I'll read it because it's lesser known. Russian politician Kirsten Luminov had an encounter with aliens on September 17th when he was being abducted by yellow-suited aliens. After being taken aboard a transparent spaceship, he was initially facing issues understanding the speech of the aliens, which later on became easy as telepathic communication began happening between he and the aliens. I think that probably stands to reason that they would communicate telepathically. I mean, they got those huge heads, right? So they could probably do all kinds of things that we can only dream of. This one as well, the Buff Ledge abduction story. While working in a summer camp at Buff Ledge in 1968, two teenagers claimed to have been abducted by aliens whom they had spotted earlier in a UFO. Oh, okay. The aliens, as per the abductees, did not have lips or ears and had webbed fingers and slits for noses. Various samples were taken from the abductees before they were returned back. People who were not aware of the abductions in the camp and nearby sites had also reported sightings of strange lights in that same night. So the rest of these are pretty well known. Travis Walton, the Pascagoula abduction story. Hair of the Alien is I don't recognize this one, so let's check this out. It says, in July 1992, Australia-based Lebanese Peter Corey had an encounter with two aliens who looked like women. Oh, no, I remember this one. Oh, God. I don't know if this, this is the same one, but I'll read it. But one of them had a pretty long face with protruding chin. The woman, who was more than 6 feet tall, pressed Corey's head in her chest in a desperate attempt to free him. When Corey bit part of the nipple to tear. Oh my God! Yeah, never mind. I can't even do that. I'm not saying that it wasn't a valid claim. Maybe it is. I don't know, but I just don't want to talk about that. That's just too weird. No offense. I don't mean to take anything away from the fact that maybe some of these encounters are indeed sexual to some nature, but yeah, it's just a family show. I work really hard to keep this a family show, so we're going to just wash that one down. Let's see. Benny and Barney Hill, of course. Dr. Herbert Hopkins. I think he's the one who met the Men in Black. So, yeah, most of these are really well known, but a few of them are lesser known. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty powerful stuff, right? I don't know. When I saw the disc that I saw, and most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with my story. That's, I saw it through night vision binoculars. It wasn't visible with my naked eye, but was with the first generation night vision binoculars I was using. The biggest concern I had once I realized what was going on and that they were probably looking at me was, I don't want this to be any more than this. The fact that I was observing it and seeing it right in front of me and became a knower of the situation, the very next thing was, okay, this is good. This is good enough. I know they're real. I know they're here. I'm seeing it. I'm experiencing this. This is incredible, but this is far enough. And so that was the point where I just went, nope, I'm good now. And then I just went inside, locked all the doors, and paced around. And for several hours, I was pacing around the house, listening carefully for any sounds or anything that might indicate that they had landed, because I was like, I don't want to be sucked up and, hoovered up into an alien craft and poked and prodded. So I was really glad that that's where the experience ended for me. And I really do feel very fortunate that I experienced what I did, because it was kind of one of those lifelong questions for so many years, because I believed this phenomenon was very real, but I had no personal experience, and I could only go by the information that I could find that other people were willing to share. And that's great, and it's powerful, but I can tell you that there was nothing that compared to seeing that in the sky and then realizing that they can hide, that they could be anywhere. They could be anywhere, and we wouldn't be able to observe them. They make no noise. It made no noise whatsoever. It was hidden from the native spectrum of light that my eyes could see. There was no way that if they don't want to be observed, that they could be observed. And it took these infrared binoculars for me to see that they were actually there. And that was a real incredible revelation. Now, I got to admit, at the time, I had looked into the UFO phenomena a bit, but I'd never heard the stories ever about them being allegedly invisible. I'd never heard of that outside of Star Trek. That was the only time I'd ever heard of cloaking technology and things like that for UFOs. I know that they looked into it with the Philadelphia experiments for battleships and stuff, and that was interesting. Is there a way to bend light around these equipment? But I had no idea that people had claimed that they were invisible until it happened. And then I started looking into it and researching. And then I found out that other people had similar awareness of that. And I thought, my God, that's incredible. But it just occurred to me, they could be floating above your house making no sound. If you looked up there, you wouldn't see anything but the night sky or the day sky or whatever. And so it was just real enough for me at that point. So I'm really glad it didn't go any further, and I didn't miss any time or anything like that. I was very much hyper awake after that experience, but that was it. And if you want to hear more about that, you can certainly. I know I've mentioned it. There's a bedtime stories from beyond that I did here on the channel in our archives. It's in the bedtime from Bedtime Stories from Beyond playlist, and it's called A Walk in My Shoes. And I talk more in depth about the whole experience and several other of my experiences on that episode, because I kept getting requests from people to put them together on a show. So I put several of my experiences together and just talked about them on that episode. So it's in the playlist. You can check it out if you want more information. What did I experience? Or you can listen to interviews like the one I just did for Yowie Central, in which will be coming out. I don't know exactly when it'll be released, and I mentioned it on other interviews when I was on other shows. So if you haven't heard it, it's interesting. I don't know what to tell you. It's something I experienced. It's very real. It's very true. What does it mean? Well, to me, it means that this is truth. There is real knowledge and information out there about these things that before I knew. You have all these claims, you have all of these conversations, but you don't know what to take for real and what to not take for real. And there are claims, extraterrestrial claims, being presented out there of everything, from the absolutely bizarre to, more terrifying, and everything in between. And it's hard to know what's the truth in there. Can they all be true? Probably not. Some people do fabricate truths. It's just a fact of life, fact of humankind. But and I was never naive enough to just believe everything I read. I always wondered, and you get the gut feelings, but it wasn't until I experienced it that I knew that at least some of this information out there is very, very true. And that to me was exciting, because I've always said on the show, many times I can't tell you what's true and what's not in the material we present on the show, because it's not my personal experiences. My personal experiences I can tell you are true, but it's just my word. But everything we cover on the show, interviews, et cetera, I can't vouch for any of it. But I can vouch for the fact that it's presented as truth to me, and that's what I will bring to you. But it was really cool when I had that experience, because anything else out there that kind of matched what I saw, I knew could very well be credible. And I've always said doing the show, if only 1% or 1/10 of 1% of the thousands and thousands and thousands of stories that I've presented on this show are true, it still means something absolutely amazing is going on out there. So, that's my opinion on it. So I think it's pretty cool. Let me close this. Okay, so let me see the time, because we're going to do this article next. This is the one that's named absolutely horrible. We're going to get into an article from BuzzFeed. I haven't pre-read this at all. These are a little bit bigger stories than what we just covered, but these are terrifying alien abduction stories that'll screw you up. They didn't use the word screw, but they used some profane language. But anyway, this is the first one. This is from BuzzFeed.com. It's the Gundaya McKay abduction. I'm going to blow this up again, too. Okay. So, Amy Rylance, then 22, and her husband Keith, and her friend Petra were at the Rylance's home in Gundaya, Australia on October 2001. Petra was awoken at 11:15 p.m. and went into the living room, where she was horrified to find Amy being carried in a sleeping position out through the window on a beam of light to a huge ship outside. Petra woke Keith, but by the time that he entered the room, Amy was gone. The curtain was torn and the bushes outside were burnt. The pair phoned the police, who struggled to take the claim seriously. However, around 90 minutes later, Keith received a phone call from a woman in Mackay, Queensland, an 8-hour drive from Gundaya, and she said she was with Amy, who was in a hospital, dazed and dehydrated. Wow. No one could explain how she had traveled such a distance in such a short time. Amy was uninjured except for red marks on her upper thigh and heels, and she said she remembered lying on a bed with tall figures leaning over her, reassuring her, and taking samples from her. When she was found, her body hair had grown considerably, suggesting she had been gone for much longer than a few short hours that she was missing. Wow, that's incredible. There's all kinds of layers of incredible in this story. Fantastic, and also terrifying. The whole idea of being taken away is horrible. I don't understand that. If, these beings are, allegedly much more advanced than us, and why they don't respect a person's sovereignty, I don't understand. But the fact that she was so far away in an impossible way that it was just a few hours, but she was 8-hour drive away suddenly in a hospital. And who knows how long she was actually in the hospital before that call was able to be made. So absolutely crazy. The fact her hair grew much, much more than it should have for the amount of time she was gone. That's showing some kind of time anomaly there, folks. So very, very strange. All right, this is the abduction of Jesse Long. Jesse Long was just 5 years old when he says he was abducted by aliens for the first time. He was exploring the woods with his brother when they came upon a round structure in a clearing. A tall figure appeared and paralyzed the boys. Jesse remembers being taken into the craft and placed on a cold table. He could feel the figures around him poking and prodding his legs. Over the next few years, Jesse said he was abducted repeatedly. He claims he was experimented on, including having things extracted from him that he was used to crossbreed with a female alien. In 1990, he says the aliens presented him with a baby, which they said was his. He also met 9 more of his hybrid children. Jesse, now 65, says he knows many people won't believe his story, but insists he is telling the truth. Jesse Long, okay. Benny and Barney Hill, we've covered that many times, but I guess I could just read it for the sake of context for this article. Betty and Barney Hill were driving back from a holiday in Niagara Falls on September 1961. They noticed a light in the sky which got closer, eventually appearing as a huge shape hovering above their car. Barney got out through his binoculars, says he saw 11 humanoid figures in shiny black uniforms and capes watching them. Terrified, the couple drove off. However, they both claimed to have experienced a buzzing sensation, and when they finally arrived home at dawn, the 4-hour journey had taken 7 hours. The Hills' clothes were torn in strange places, and Betty found a mysterious pink powder on her dress. She began having intense dreams about the experience, in which skin samples were taken from her and a needle thrust into her navel, and later she drew a star map, which she said she had been shown by the aliens. Betty and Barney Hill were respected in their community. Barney was involved in the civil rights movement, and Betty was a social worker. No one had any reason to suspect that they were lying. This is basically the star map that she drew, which was not really documented or well known at the time, or even maybe at all known. I don't know if it was at all known or just not public knowledge, but it ended up being Zeta Reticuli, the Zeta Reticuli star clusters. And she was able to draw that. I think that was after hypnotic regression that she was able to draw it, but the fact that she had knowledge of that, and apparently the knowledge also included the routes that were used by these aliens and for trade and for throughout those stars. It was really an incredible story. And if there's truth to that, and I believe there is, that's an incredible deal. This one's the abduction of Antonio Vilas Boas. In October 1957, a Brazilian farmer named Antonio Vilas Boas saw a red star in the sky. The light got closer until Boas could make out a spaceship, which landed on 3 long legs in his field. He tried to escape on his tractor, but was grabbed by a small humanoid with blue eyes. Boas claims he was taken aboard the ship and covered in a gel-like substance. He was then forced to play with a female creature with bright red hair so as to produce a human-alien hybrid to be raised by the aliens. Boas was eventually escorted from the ship and arrived back on Earth 4 hours later. He had burns on his body, nausea, lesions, and headaches, and a doctor diagnosed him as suffering from radiation sickness. Boas later trained to become a lawyer and stuck to his story his entire life. Wow. That is crazy. There's some people, many times throughout the course of the show, I always wonder why. Why are they here? Why did they do these things? And so many times people have brought up the genetic story that, whatever these beings are, whether they're from a future time or they're just from far away or whatever, is that they're having trouble reproductively in their population, and it's in great decline. And one of the reasons they may be here is to harvest the reproductive tissues and samples that are needed to propagate biological life. And so, I don't know, I guess it stands to reason, but if they're so advanced, couldn't they sort that out? I don't know. It's very strange. All right, Travis Walton, we've discussed that many times. The abduction of Colonel H.G. Shaw. This is one of the earliest reported alien encounters and was written up in the Stockton Evening Mail in 1896. Colonel H.G. Shaw was traveling with a companion by horse and carriage towards Lodi in California. Suddenly their horses startled, and they saw three star beings at the side of the road. The creatures were slender and humanoid in appearance, but 7 feet tall and bald except for a velvet, soft down that covered their bodies. They didn't speak, but warbled to one another as if they were chanting. They held lamps that shone unnaturally brightly and seemed to be formed from some sort of glowing mineral. Shaw said the creatures possessed a strange and indescribable beauty. The aliens attempted to lift Shaw, and he felt they wanted to carry him away, but he was too heavy for them. Eventually, they moved away, floating just above the ground. Shaw followed them until they reached a huge cigar-shaped spaceship in the air. The creatures flew up to it, disappearing inside a door, and the ship departed and was soon lost from sight. So he must have been a beefy guy, huh? Is this, I don't know if this is supposed to be a drawing that he made. Are those propellers? That's interesting. I don't know what it is, but it kind of looks like propellers though, doesn't it? Interesting stuff, but that's a new one to me. Hillary Porter case. This is Hillary Porter from Wales, claims to have been abducted by aliens countless times through her life. At 5 years old, she remembers playing with the long grass behind her home, and a reptilian alien appeared. It had scaly skin and black holes for a nose and mouth, and it was 5 feet tall and exceptionally strong. It grabbed Hillary and carried her onto its disc-shaped ship. Porter was stripped and placed on a bed and then prodded with various instruments. At that point, she says she blacked out. Years later, while driving with her husband, she says their car suddenly pulled up at a garage and they both had no memory of how they had gotten there. When she undressed later that day, she had a triangle red suction mark on her stomach. And after all her abductions, Porter suffers piercing migraines, and she has sometimes woken with bruises, scratches, and even blood stains on her clothes. Porter, who once worked at the Ministry of Defense, has made drawings based on memories of her alien encounters, and she says the beings communicate with each other telepathically, and has been sent to extract human genetic material on Earth. Yeah, Jesus, help yourself. This is a buffet. It's like, come on. How about asking? This one's the Koori abductions. Is this that's the same guy, right? Yeah, we're not going to read that again. That's another one where it's just very overtly sexual, and it's like, yeah. I mean, even if it's true, and it very well may be. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that I'm not going to give that airtime on the show. So Very wild claims and encounters, but do you believe it? And I don't mean to imply that you have to. If you do or don't, that's entirely your choice. But I like I said, I mean, I've experienced what I've experienced. I have seen other things in the sky. I've seen the little film that I was able to record was just outside the back door, and that's aired every time the show happens on Friday and Saturday nights. The first break, and it's the night vision footage that you'll see in that first break, and that's the anomaly I recorded. So I think, I don't know, something about after having seen them, now it seems more likely that I will see them again. And I find that's true for ghost stories, for Bigfoot stories, and for every phenomena. It's like if you've experienced it once, it seems likely that you have a higher chance of experiencing it again. I don't know why that is. Is it something about us creating a reality for it, or do we just create an awareness for these things that we would have just ignored before? And maybe it's as simple as that. I'm not saying it's always this real woo factor to it. It might just be more mundane. But you never know. You never know. Scary. I've experienced some things too, Ruthie says, and I can't even bring myself to tell anyone about it. So let's change the subject. Yeah, no, I hear you, Ruthie. And it's, not knowing what you've experienced, it's, entirely up to each individual to decide when that time is to talk about it, or if there's ever time for it. And maybe for many it isn't. And that's the other part of it. That's an interesting point, because how many of these stories are out there that don't get reported? For the sake of somebody just trying to maintain their normalcy of their life, to talk about these things is to acknowledge something went way sideways, went way off the rocker. And then somehow you've got to come back and try to piece your world back together with that. And oftentimes it truly is the most normal thing you can do is just close your eyes and move forward, because some of that stuff is real hard to understand. And my hat's off to anybody that's, has been through this stuff and still does participate in and have a normal life. My encounter was very benign. It was just seeing something and seeing other things after that. But just that one big sighting was the pinnacle for me, which is fine. But if it had gone more real than that, what would I have been dealing with? And I can only shudder to think. So just, having a normal life after so much is an incredible feat of strength and determination. So there's never any reason somebody has to share. But if any of you want to share, I'm here. And it doesn't even have to be for the shows. If you just want to talk, let me know. I'm happy to listen. So, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? It's time for the Trail Cam Terrors. All right, folks, it's the Trail Cam Terrors. This is our new segment at the end of all these night terror shows where we talk about some of the strange images that are captured. And, again, some of them, most of them, maybe half of them, maybe none of them, maybe all of them are fabrications, but some of them are very real, and seems to me that at least some of these have to be valid. But it's very possible that many others aren't, and it's up to you to decide. The Paranormal Portal will never be about telling you what to believe or what not to believe. It's up to you to figure that out. Whatever makes sense to you. Tonight's picture, trail cam picture, does come with a story. I've got a little bit of background on it, so a little more information than normal, which is kind of nice because a lot of them I brought out has been just like, hey, look what I found. I don't know what it is, but weird, huh? But this time I was able to find a little more information about it. So we're going to talk about that. And tonight's is often regarded as the Burlington Boogeyman. And there you go, folks. That's the image that was captured. Now, if you know anything about trail cams, they are put out in, generally out in the forest and in places where people aren't going. Oftentimes placed by hunters to look in on areas to see if there's traffic for deer or other hunted animals, to see where they want to try to apply their efforts during a hunting season in order to bag something. but sometimes they catch this weird stuff. Now, most trail cams are triggered by motion or movement of some kind. And so they turn on from a standby phase and they capture images, or an image or a video. In this case, it's an image. And this is the Burlington Boogeyman. And information I have about it is nothing beats a good old urban legend, and the Burlington Boogeyman may just be one of the greatest urban legends of all. The story of the Burlington Boogeyman has been passed down among Burlington natives for generations. The legend claims that the malevolent ghost of a Native American chief haunts the forests of Burlington, Pennsylvania. It is said that the ghost's intention is to avenge his fallen tribe. Those who have encountered the spirit have described it as a kind of transparent, floating skeleton. And that's just what we see in this picture. Regardless if you believe in ghosts or not, we wouldn't blame you if that photo ended up costing you a few hours of sleep tonight. It's a very interesting image. It does look like a spectral image. There does seem to be at least some eye shine, as if it's almost physical, but not quite, because there does appear to be translucency to it as well. So it could very well be a spiritual manifestation. Could it be the Burlington Boogeyman, as the legend suggests? And I'll say maybe. But that's tonight's image. And again, I can't vouch for it either way. I don't know any of the backstory. I don't know who captured it or their credibility, but I'm bringing it to you all the same, because it's definitely a trail cam terror. It's almost sounded scripted, didn't it? You got to admit that. That was just me talking. Go figure. Sometimes I shock myself. I don't know, because other times I'll struggle for a normal word like temperature. I'll be like, but every once in a while I'll open up my mouth and things seem to flow. So, but you be the judge, folks. You be the judge. And I guess that's going to be our journey for tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed this journey into the night terrors on the Paranormal Portal. Again, if you're new to the show, I'd love for you to get subscribed and, hit that bell, ring it. What did you guys say? Do you think why would it set off a trail cam if it's a manifestation and not really physical? Sometimes it can be temperature related. Some trail cams have almost a thermal setting. But if you think of it as a motion sense, it could, by virtue of just appearing, it might create a light anomaly that would depict motion to the sensors. I don't know how they work. I can't give you the mechanics. I'm just thinking out loud. But one thing is for sure, if it's spiritual, spirits seem to have no problem triggering and altering mechanical electronic devices. From way back in the old radio days, old radios with the turn dials would turn on and go through the channels. TVs, lights, other appliances, cars can either work or not work. They just don't seem to have trouble affecting. Maybe it's an EM field kind of thing they can do and just screw with the electronics or something. I swear to God, sometimes the studio deals with that right here, because there's times things should work and just don't. But so maybe it was intentional. Maybe it's an intentional. If it's an intelligent haunt, maybe it wants people to know it's out there. And if it is a spirit of some vengeful First Nations chief, maybe he wants people to stay out. Maybe that's his sacred land and it wanted to be captured. So I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas, guys. But good question. Great question. I don't know. I don't have an answer. But there's just a lot of thoughts and theories. So also, Hifakon says also, Hifakon got a pic when we went out there. We were thinking it's a Native American spirit. It was a daytime pic around 2ish in the afternoon. That's from DJ Big Red. Okay. That was a fast show. You're right, Ruthie. They just kind of fly. Once I start talking, it's just like time just gets away. They're not as shy as Sasquatch about revealing themselves, scaring people like dogmen seem to do more of. Very cool. Corbanian Courier. The Corbanian Courier. Very nice. Nice to meet you as well. That's a new name to me as well. So it's always cool to get a chance to meet new people. Any other thoughts? I once broke an expensive Nikon trying to photograph a poltergeist in action. Wow, that's crazy. Brent, show that picture, cat. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an option, I guess, for sure. But that's the show, folks. That's all I got for you. So thank you again for coming and being a part of the journey tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night with 2 hours, the Friday 2-hour show. So I hope, if you can, that you'll join me and hang out with me. Help keep me company 2 full hours. So thank you again for being here. Subscribe. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. Check out the podcast. It's available on all the major podcast players. And check out the fans page as well, Paranormal Portal fans group on Facebook as well. So lots of ways to stay in touch. We hope you will take advantage of those. Thank you for all your love and support. Thank you to those of you who are spreading the word about the show to more people and more groups online. We really appreciate that. And thank you to those of you who will. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Have a wonderful night. Take care of each other. Love each other. Think happy thoughts. I don't know. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. I'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully. All right. Good night, everybody. And then I cue the credits.